We're ready. We are ready? Yep.
Welcome, everyone. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need a motion to approve the agenda for the business meeting of March 13th. No, March 20th.
Did I miss a spot?
Tonight, excuse me.
Sorry.
All right, March 20th, 2023.
I have Eric and Dave.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have some accolades that we are going to share this evening. And I think the first one, I would actually like to turn it over to Mr. Meredith, who can speak about this student and what a absolutely fabulous opportunity the student has had. So without putting you on the spot, but thank you very much for graciously accepting.
My pleasure. I like being on the spot.
And if you could just push the button so that the blue button comes on. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I just want to start off by thanking the district and thanking the board for supporting Nate as he was chosen to perform at Carnegie Hall with the Honors Performance Series Honor Choir. This opportunity was opened up to him a few years ago, actually. When he was a freshman is when everything shut down in 2020, and we lost the rest of that school year. The following school year, Nate was one of the few students that elected to do a NISMA solo. And many of you are familiar with that program. You go and you perform a musical solo piece in front of another music teacher, and they give you a score. But because of the restrictions that year, it had to be a completely online audition. What's more, that year we were not really able to sing together in person, so he worked independently to prepare the hardest level NISMA solo. And he scored extremely well that year. Come last year, he did another extremely high level and got the highest score out of any student that attended in the district. As a result, he was eligible to apply for this prestigious program, and he's only one of 2 students in the history of the district to be able to attend and perform with this ensemble at Carnegie Hall. I'm happy to start out and congratulate Nate personally. Not only is he a role model and a leader among the members of his class who have been through quite a lot, but he not only kept singing, but did so at an exceptional level at a time when it's truly never been harder to be a singer. And the exciting thing about Nate's story is that he'll be attending Hartwick, studying music education. So in 4 short years, not only will he be a former student, but I'll be honored to call him a colleague. So my personal congratulations to Nate. Extremely proud of you and all that you've accomplished, and I know that the best is yet to come. And again, thank you to the district for supporting him. When you support our musicians, you don't just support one person, you support a community. Nate didn't thrive all by himself. He has peers and friends, upperclassmen, underclassmen who are making music with him. And I thank you so much for your support of our program and of this music community that is regrowing after these past few years. So I want to thank you very, very much for all that you do for our students.
Nate, if you would like to say something, you're allowed to say something.
You gotta sing it though.
Just really quickly to recap on what Meredith has said, the music kind of in our school did take a huge toll. It took a huge hit. Once COVID hit, our choir did take a big hit. A lot of us were very unmotivated to keep making music due to the restrictions of the masks and COVID and what it brought to us. We had a very strong choir, and it was dropped down to about 40. We were at about 60, almost approaching 70. So we got a really big hit, and then basically what had happened is the seniors arose because we had the most of what we had, and we have been doing our best to bring back everybody back into the musical world. We are regaining in our number, and a lot of it is to the thanks of the board for all of the opportunities they do open up to us musicians. Without their help, we would not be able to strive. So that brings me to why I am here now, was Carnegie Hall. I had the prestigious honor of being able to apply and being selected as a finalist for this event. And what this event, it's called Artist Performance Series with Carnegie Hall. What it is all about is about 350 people are selected across 3 different performances. So there's concert band, there's the chorus, and there's the treble chorus. The treble chorus is all girls, the concert is mixed, anybody, and the band is, well, band. The audition process with this is very tedious. So I sung a piece in completely Italian. It's the hardest opportunity of a solo that you can do in New York State. And I sent it in to some random people and get judged on it. So, and apparently they thought I sounded really good, but a lot of the challenges going up into this process was just how difficult the music is. With the audition process, obviously we do send in our stuff, but afterwards we were also told that we were learning 6 pieces, some of those being in different languages and some of those being a very much different array of when they were made. What this has done to create more opportunities for me is it's completely opened up my resume. It's one of the biggest things that I can put on it as a musician. A lot of famous people who are in the music world, like Yo-Yo Ma, he is a very famous celloist. He has performed on that stage. The Beatles, once upon a time, played on that stage. The Beach Boys, once upon a time, played on that stage. And overall, the Hall has a huge privilege around it. So it is a very big thing for my resume, and that would not be possible with the board and the funding they allowed me. So what happened while I was there? So the very first day is more of a meet and greet, meet everybody, have some fun while you're there. So in this first day, it was us at the train station. I went with 4 other kids from Catskill because they had the privilege of being elected into it as well, which is very, very uncommon. Considering the fact we had someone from Korea take part in one of the performances, it is a huge opportunity. So for this to be opened up to not only Greenville kids, but Catskill kids, it is just as important. What happened when we got there is I met my whole group. There was about 12 of us, if I believe so. And the first day was very much kind of shy. Not really a lot of people were kind of like wanting to talk about themselves as a singer. But as the night progressed on, I really learned more about them. I met somebody from Florida, Arkansas, Arkansas, and I believe I met somebody from Oklahoma. I did also have the privilege of meeting someone from Hawaii. So knowing that there is a much vast, huge world out there, it was very stunning the very first night you were there. So the second day was the actual rehearsal day. I was not prepared for an 8-hour rehearsal. It is very much a challenge, especially with 6 pieces that are very much not common. And as a singer, it's just not fun. With water, getting food, just a lot of it not prepared for it. As you can see on the screen, I'm there with my little binder, was on the front of it, was Nate Stores. All of that says on there, I was playing as bass too, and the 70 is my height, and they aligned us by height, and it made all of us very insecure. So, after all the fun of rehearsal, we got to have even more fun at a Broadway show. So through the audition process, we got to, after we were selected, got to pick what our most preferred show of what we wanted to see. It was between Wicked, Aladdin, and Funny Girls. And my top pick was Aladdin, and I was very happy to be able to have an aisle seat. Not only that, but to see my top pick show. So that show was surreal because I was surrounded not with just my group, but with more of the group, like the orchestra and the treble choir. So through that, I met even more people. These people arranged musical talent to like the greatest. I personally myself could not compete with some of them. They were extremely good. The standard was very high. So the second day was more rehearsal. You wouldn't expect so much out of us. This one went for 9 hours, this one was longer. So through this, we got to explore more as our group. As you can see on the screen above, that was my whole chaperone group. You can see me at the very top right. That is me, smiling bright. All of these people, like the person in the very front taking the photo, she is, I don't remember where she's from, but her name is Maggie. She was an all-state performer for her state. I'm only an alternate for our state. That is an extreme privilege to be able to sing for their state. The person to the right of her, he was a all-state singer for Florida, and that was for sight reading. I am not good at sight reading. What happened after that night of the very long and tedious rehearsals was we went to the top of the Rockefeller Center. That photo below was taken by myself, and overall the view up there, I wish I could show you guys. The picture just does not do justice. It was very cold that night. That was during the cold snap, so it was -7 with the wind chill. Very cold, especially when you're that high up, but overall, I loved the experience. So on the 4th day, it was the performance day. Walking into that hall for the very first time, the acoustics are astonishing. It's no wonder why it's one of the best cathedrals in the world. It's very much unmatched to anything I've ever heard. You can yell and it hits right back at you at the same volume. The acoustics of it are just insane. The bottom left, you can see me being very happy. Finally got there after thinking about it, knowing that other people who I know have been, and overall really trying to challenge myself. That was my choir who I sang with in the photo on the very bottom, and it was such a privilege to be able to sing with people with my skill level and above. When you are a part of a small school, when you do strive in your music program, sometimes you can hit a block. But what the Board of Education has done, they removed that block for me. They were able to make sure that I could go even farther with music, and without you guys, I really could not go any farther. This is the highlight of my year, my resume, pretty much my music life. There's no getting any more than here, but after the performance of 6 songs and just a week long of constant dedication and singing, we got to go on a private yacht party. This was one of my favorite parts because we rode on a $10 million yacht and partied for a good 3 hours. We got to go all the way to the Statue of Liberty. We got a lot of nice photos of that. And overall, this was the celebration. We were done. We did it. This was our memento. So this night, we got back. We went out with the chaperone group. We toured a little bit. And overall, the experience of it all was great. So what did HPS give me? So what this gave me was not only more skills for myself, but more friends from almost around the globe. I still talk with every single person in my chaperone group. We have an Instagram, we talk in it, and we open up more music possibilities for each other. If we see things, we'll shoot each other a text, hey, this is open, it's international, let's see if we can get it. Unfortunately, none of us are good enough. So, up here you can see a photo of Greg Gilpin. He's a very major name in the music world. He's a very, very good conductor. He's conducted for Carnegie Hall multiple times. This man himself has given a private little coaching session for a good 10 minutes because everybody wanted a private vocal lesson. So what he gave me was just astonishing. I never knew as a singer how well I could sound with a choir, and he opened up a lot. Shout out to the chaperones of the group who were also have music background, and to everybody else who went. They really do unlock memories. This was by far one of the best moments of my life. With that being said, I would really like to thank the board. Like I said multiple times, this really would not have been able to be done without the board. I worked and worked and worked, but still came up short on funding, and the board made it possible. So I didn't have to worry about doing anything loan-wise or asking to borrow money. The board solidified my opportunity. And without the board, I would not have been able to go and make a life-changing opportunity. With that being said, thank you to the board. Thank you to everybody who has helped me along my music way. And thank you, because it really does mean a lot.
advice, if I could ask you, is to tell other students about the opportunity, because sometimes students won't necessarily perform at NYSSMA and do a solo, and that opportunity never would have happened. So the more you can talk about the impact that it had on you and encourage others to do that. So there's a lot of work that goes into it, but I think the reward, is there too. So I encourage you to talk, and good luck. And I am sure it will not be the highlight. There are more, even better things to come.
Well, at least so far it has been.
That is fair. Thank you.
And Nate, I just want to follow up too, and Ms. Young stole my thunder here when she talked about, this was going to be the best. You are going to shatter ceilings. You're going to go even higher than this. And I just want to thank you personally for representing Greenville in such an amazing way and taking part and pushing yourself to the outer limits of what you thought you could do. Because again, at the end of the day, it is everybody who's been behind you to help push you, but it's you who's making that happen. So I want to thank you for representing not only yourself, your family, but us here in Greenville.
Thank you.
Great job. Thanks.
All right, and now if I could move us on to the Science Olympiads, where we do have another recognition. And Mr. Reeve, are you going to be speaking?
I'm just going to introduce Mr. Hutchins here.
Beautiful.
But our Science Olympiad team, we were very fortunate to have Mr. Hutchins as the advisor for this. Mr. Hutchins is a big part of our middle school here, the things he does not only in the classroom but outside of it in terms of being an advisor for our Science Olympiad team. I'm going to let him speak more about the student success this year. But students, thank you for your passion in science and all the hard work you've put in over the past winter here, leading up to your competition on February 11th. Thank you to our volunteer coaches. I know Mr. Hutchins will speak more in a minute, but I appreciate how you are a big part of the middle school in supporting our students. I know Mr. Hutchins will definitely appreciate your support too. But this time I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Hutchins here.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Yeah, I'm very pleased with all the enthusiasm and participation from the students and from the volunteer coaches, the support from Mr. Reeve and from the school in general. The Greenville Science Olympiad team competed on Saturday, February 11th in a regional tournament in East Greenbush. For those of you who are not familiar with it, Science Olympiad, I always compare it to like a track event. You know, when you go to a track event for the first time and everyone's doing different things and you have no idea where to look or what to look at or what people are doing. And each person on the track team may compete in different events. Well, it's the same idea except for it's science and technology and engineering. We had a team of 14 students who participate in anywhere from 1 to 4, maybe 5 events in different fields of biology, physics, chemistry, earth science, engineering. And they spent about 6 months meeting and preparing for this competition. The events they do can be what they call info ones, where they kind of take a test, lab ones where they have to use lab equipment and demonstrate their ability to do that, and build events where they have to build something to certain specifications and compete on that. And they did well. They represented Greenville well. We won medals in several events. And so I'd like to recognize individual team members and tell you what events they competed in. So I call your name. If you're here, come on up. If you're not here, you don't have to come up. So first up is Tate Eloise, who competed in experimental design, dynamic planet, and fast facts. Come on up here. Mr. Reed, so that he can keep you in mind. No, so that we can. Alex Bouquet, who competed in forestry and meteorology and placed third in both. Ben Bouquet, who participated in bridge. Brady Caro, who participated in wheeled vehicle, got 4th place. Disease detectives and dynamic planning. girls who participate in solar system got 3rd place, and Code Busters got 4th place. Caden Hens, who I don't think I've seen here, but maybe he's somewhere, experimental design, Boston Minerals. Okay, I guess Caden isn't here. Alex Ingalls, who participated in Fast Back. Ronan Kirsten, who participated in Flight, Roller Coaster, got 5th place, and Write It, Do It got 2nd place. Nessa Kelleher, who participated in Roller Coaster, 5th place, and Write It, Do It in 2nd place. Alana McDonald-Katz, who participated in Rocks and Minerals, Brine Busters, 5th place, Solar System, 3rd place, and Cold Busters, 4th place. Alex, who I didn't see here.
Steven.
I'll get to him, that's all I need. Flight and experimental design, and then Skylar, who participated in Bridge. Steven Snyder, who participated in forestry, meteorology, got 3rd place in both. Megan Klopp participated in forestry, but was unable to, prepared for forestry, but was unable to participate in regional. As Mr. Reeve says, I also really want to thank the volunteer coaches. There's no way to do this by myself without coaches doing other events, especially events that I have no ability to do. This could never happen. So I want to call out, they're not all necessarily here, but if you are here, come on out for this as well. Kevin Flenstead, I do not see him here. Todd Hilgendorf. No, okay. Sean Katz. Evan Snyder, Jill Snyder, Scott Snyder. I'm not sure, I think they may be related. And Anthony Zhang, who I don't think was able to be here. And what's really exciting this year is we had 2 veterans who had aged out, because you can be on this team up through 9th grade, come back. Evan and Anthony come back and coach. And so that's the thing I'd like to keep going along. And have people come back and coach as they age out of this, and maybe help the high school get a Olympiad team going. So once again, thank you all for all of your work and your support. Thank you everyone else for your support, all the parents and families, and thank you. Now we get to go have a pizza party.
I think that's absolutely wonderful. We hope you enjoy your pizza.
Where are you?
Come on, guys, bring it back.
Sorry, I should have mentioned pizza.
Right, there we go. But kudos to all of you for the hard work and just learning about things that you didn't necessarily know. Of course, thank you to the chaperones and all the volunteers that helped make it possible. And you know, just fabulous job, guys. Bravo.
Thank you.
And again, I would like to thank all the adults who have helped give up their time to be a part of this. To the kids, it's a lot of extra time. 6 months preparing is a lot of time away from things that you could be doing differently. And your dedication and your hard work, we appreciate. We always appreciate you guys going out and representing Greenville. So great job. Enjoy the pizza.
Next, you want this picture?
Sierra, yes.
Yep.
Not this Tracy, this Tracy. Oh, no.
I'm excited about that party too.
All right, now I'd like us to move us on to the open forum. And the 30-minute open forum is the time the board sets aside to hear in-person comments from the public. Comments may also be emailed in advance of the meeting prior to 4 p.m. on the date of the meeting, and state in the email if you would like your correspondence read out loud to Daphne Pearson, District Clerk, at pearsond@greenvillecsd.org. This is an opportunity for residents to voice general concerns or compliments, or especially about items on the agenda. However, this is not the time to register complaints about specific individuals or about items that should be addressed confidentially through the proper channels. All comments shall be addressed to the district clerk and shall be limited to not more than 5 minutes per board policy 2180. Please note that members of the board may not be able to directly respond to citizens' concerns during the public open forum, but we do listen attentively. So is there anyone that would like to speak? So just come up to the podium, hit the button, the gray button, so that, because it's being recorded, that other people can hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know who you are, but if you could just, for the record, just let us know.
Am I on?
Nope.
Now I'm on.
Yeah.
Hello. Hi, everybody. My name is Hudson Turon. I was a student at this school for 12 years, all of my educational career. Being openly queer for half of my life in this space has been extremely difficult. Waking up every morning feeling like you don't belong in the town that you call home. Wanting to hide myself, wanting to escape, wanting to leave. But I didn't. I decided that my life and my happiness was way more important than what others made it out to be. That took strength. And now I am here. Tonight, I speak for the souls who did not feel they were worthy of hearing, who did not feel worthy of speaking their truth, or even worthy of being alive. Seeing yourself within media, within books, within movies, within TV shows is very, very important. Monitoring what your child is looking up on the internet and what they are reading is the job of the parent. Just because you don't agree with the content of a book, that doesn't mean nobody should have access to it. If you have a problem with what books your child is taking out, let them know that they can't read it. But to say that this literature doesn't have any place within a school library, that's your opinion, and opinions are not a fact. Books have always been an escape, no matter for what or for who. They allow you to step inside another person, in their mind, to follow their struggles and their path. Books that include LGBTQ relations belong in this library. I belong in this library. Statistically, in the past year, 45% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered suicide. Nearly 1 in 5 transgender youth attempted suicide. Fewer than 1 in 3 transgender youth found their home to be accepting of them. Queer youth who found their school to be gender affirming reported lower rates of attempted suicide. I ask you now, do you think removing queer literature from our school library would help or hurt those statistics? Let's not forget that a student here, a classmate, a friend, committed suicide at the age of 14 because he didn't feel seen. He wasn't heard.
He felt the only way to be safe was to end his own life. When thinking about removing queer literature, let's remind ourselves of Colin, a kind, funny, caring, and enthusiastic kid who ended his own life because he didn't feel seen, he didn't feel worthy of hearing. And now think about your own child. Would you want your child to feel that way? Everybody belongs in this library. Thank you so much.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Melissa Gergen, and I stand before you as a taxpayer, an alum, a former employee, and parent of this district. Excuse me. I have close to 25 years of experience in education, and I currently work at the Guilderland Central School District as a high school librarian. Let's be clear. By definition, this school library is not promoting pornographic material that exists solely for the purpose of sexual interest. Instead, GCS's secondary library is offering students the means to explore topics of consent, safer sex practices, and even prepare them mentally and emotionally for possible situations they might find themselves in as they navigate their teenage lives and the relationships they may choose to have as young adults. Stories of teenage relationships, whether true or fiction, allow readers to gauge what they would be comfortable with in real life. Do I believe parents should be talking to their children about what they are reading? Yes, but I also know that a teenager's privacy is of the utmost importance to them. In our role, the American Library Association has charged school librarians with advocating for our teen readers and protecting their privacy when it comes to the materials that they check out. Based on my own parenting experiences and daily interactions with teens at work, I know our young adults do not always feel comfortable talking to us about the questions they might have. I also acknowledge I do not have all the answers that they require, and I would much rather our teenagers get information from a book rather than many of the sites they may encounter online. And let's not forget, not all students have support at home, and in that case, books on such topics help them when a trusted adult is not present. I simply ask that the Greenville librarians be allowed to order library materials in the same way employers are asked not to discriminate against future employees, not basing decisions on a book's worthiness simply on the subjects of race, a character's color, gender identity, sexual orientation, or nation of origin, but rather on their literary merit and the needs of the patrons. Books offer windows into a world our students have questions about, and we should not work to sanitize or limit access based upon the fact that such books make some people uncomfortable. The beauty of a library is that it is available for everyone. Let's make sure that each of our students, can see themselves on the shelves. Thank you.
Yes,
so
you're
I
on.
actually had something prepared. I'm Amanda Calvo. Following what Hudson said coming up here has deterred me from originating and speaking on that. Hudson, what you just said took a lot of bravery. I recognize you. I see you. I encourage the board to look into my family's background before they make judgments about my past speech. I want to make something very clear to those who spoke before me and to this board and this district. Every child should be heard and seen for who they are, no matter their gender, religion, and race. That's a given. Our world right now is struggling with that, as a whole, in general. This discussion, as far as I'm concerned. I can speak for those who have shared with me their thoughts, but I cannot speak any further. It's not about wanting to remove books from the library that are LGBTQ. It is not about removing books that help children identify themselves in a character or escape their struggles that they're dealing with or even understand themselves. I asked you to put 50 Shades of Grey on your list. Please do it. Do it. Because I would like my children, half of whom are gay, oh, you didn't know that was coming, did ya? And the other half who aren't, to equally learn what it's like to be in a sexual relationship. That's what this is about. I don't want anyone to feel left out. I believe your staff in this school does a really good job of leading children to bully one another. And that's the issue, where children aren't seen and heard. Not the book that they can access outside of school or at a public library or even in the school. Everybody has the right to write what they want, and everybody has the right to read what they want. What I'm saying to you as a parent is I gave you my children to educate them. I didn't ask you to teach them how to insert birth control or how to have sex. I didn't ask you to give them any of that. There's family planning, there's counselors, there are people who are educated to give the materials and answer the questions that need to be answered. And to the young woman who spoke before me, you're absolutely right. People do not have supportive families at home. That's a thing. Do I want my kids to not be supported for who they are inside the school? Absolutely not. You're here to support everybody. You're not here to implement sexual material, whether it be homophobic, that you're spreading all over the place. And you say that you're not, but you are, because you're not educated in what's happening. You're giving these kids all of these materials and you're preaching and you're putting all of these flags everywhere, and you should be, but you have to educate yourself behind it because you're not protecting them from being bullied, and you don't have the god-darn answers to give these kids the actual knowledge they need to understand themselves. You're half-assing it. You are not a counselor. You do not hand out the right agendas to these children who are struggling. And just like I don't want my son reading a book on how to have sex with a woman, inappropriate or educational at that, I don't want somebody giving lazy work behind it. I'm sorry, but your board is weak. You're weak-minded. You want to stand up for these kids? Start doing something productive. Give them the actual knowledge that they need. Give them the actual support. Don't BS them and tell them everybody belongs and we support everybody and give your ideology like you understand it, because you don't even understand it. You're lazy and you're weak-minded. You want to preach what the world is preaching, but you don't want to educate yourself on what these children actually need so they feel safe. You're putting them out there on display, but you're not backing them up, and this comes with every single thing that goes before the board. What did I say to you the last time I said hello? I said, I don't have faith. I've not had good experience in this school. You want to know who I am and why I stand here? My son was assaulted in your school for who he was. So don't look at me and tell me that I don't understand. He was a student to graduate a year ahead of schedule. He was an athlete and he represented your school well, and he was assaulted by a hate crime in your school. So you can sit here and say you support your students, but you don't. Because you're lazy, because you don't know what's going on. And the board isn't supposed to converse with parents, yet the last time I was here, I was conversed with. In fact, I was laughed at In fact, my concerns were a joke, because you don't have grandchildren. You guys need to really wake up and educate yourself. You sat right up there and lied about something that you don't even know. You can't sit here and talk about books being in a library, whether they're heterosexual or not. It doesn't matter what the book is. You can't speak about literature unless you've read the book yourself and you know what somebody's talking about. It has no place in the school. Sexual literature, not LGBTQ literature. Please understand that very clearly. You don't have the right to put things in front of my children that I don't agree with. And you say, well, if you don't like it, just tell them no. There is such a thing as bad education, right? We don't want our kids looking up shit on sites. We don't want them pulling books out of schools that we don't agree with. Let us parent our children and build relationships with our students that are actually productive, so when they can't go to their parents, they can go to you and you're educated and you can tell them where to go. Don't leave them to go wandering around a library and say, oh, well, I'd rather them get information from a book than the internet. Well, guess what? The book is on the internet. So who are you to say whether it's good information or bad? No sex. No sex. You can't even teach our children academically. And you want to talk to them about sex? You've got no rights. I don't care if it's gay sex. I don't care if it's boy on girl sex. I don't care what kind of sex. You don't have the right to put the material in the school. It's an infringement on a parent's rights. And you're infringing on other students' rights who feel uncomfortable with it. I gave you solutions. You told me that you were going to get back to me, and the email that I got was absolutely ridiculous. It was 2 weeks late at that, and there was zero plan. What did I say to you? Don't remove the books from school. Simply make a permission slip. I'm not parent. I'm standing up here telling you, get sex out of the school. I'm saying it's that simple. Get a permission slip from parents, and they put the books, and I'm not just talking about sex books. There are other books that are being banned for racism, all different types of things that not everybody's okay with. Get a parent permission slip and let these children go in there, and now their parents know what they're reading, and they can read in privacy, and they can check out whatever is in there that would help them. But don't parent my kids. Let me remind you something. You work for us. You volunteer to be here. So don't sit up here with your little ideologies and talk about something that you don't know. Because I guarantee every single one of you hasn't read anything that we're talking about on the ban list, and I'm not talking about LGBTQ. There are more than that on the ban list. You don't get to play politics with our kids, and you don't get to half-educate them. You don't get to tell them that you support them, and then not be able to follow through with it. And that's exactly what's going on. Now, the one comment I'm going to say to this young man is he says he was unheard. It is not easy to be yourself no matter who you are in this school, especially somebody that sticks out. And I'm sorry, Hudson, but I knew him through school, through my children. And he did a damn good job of mustering up the courage to be who he was and do what he needed to do for himself. But I don't see a laundry list of people that he can thank for that other than himself and the people in his life that supported him. There's a balance. You don't have the right to parent my kids. And if you want to talk to them about belonging, then you need to educate yourself. Don't talk to me about something that you didn't read. And don't talk to me about something that you don't know. We're from a whole other generation. Don't talk to me about you know everything that's going on. You want to know? You want to get together, a board, and you want to get parents up here to go through books, which is what I asked you to do? All books, not LGBTQ. Stop focusing on that. But if that's what you want to talk about, then why don't you start taking some of the brave students that you have and put them together. They could inform you. I bet you they could educate you better than you're educated yourself. I got 0 response, and that's exactly what I said was going to happen. That's why I'm here. It was brought to you before I even came here the last time. You've done nothing. You sweep it under the carpet. You did it with bullying. You did it with COVID. You're doing it with the vaccine, and you're doing it with the books. We expect as parents a plan. Now. Get it together. Get a plan, educate yourself, and figure it out. And stop playing parents to kids that aren't yours.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Hi. I'm also going to amend some of my things I was planning, because Hudson said many of them, and I guess I want to pull the lens back a little bit. I'm Rachel DeLong. I'm a resident of the district for nearly 20 years. 2 of my sons graduated from here. I have a daughter who's a junior in the high school. I'm also a public health physician. I've spent the last 20 years specializing in different areas of public health, all related to maternal, child, adolescent, family health. I can hear that there are wider concerns, but I'm here to talk specifically about conversations about challenging and calling for certain books to be banned. And I guess I just want to make 2 points. The first is just really fundamental. Banning books is censorship. And it violates our constitutional right to free speech, and because it deprives our students of their right to receive information and to explore ideas. And that doesn't take away from the fact that some individuals and families, maybe many individuals and families in our shared community, might feel very strongly that they don't like the content of certain books. That may be against their personal beliefs or moral beliefs or religious or political values, and they have the right to make that choice and to talk with their children about it, but they absolutely do not have the right to determine what my child is able to learn and explore and read, or to determine what other people's children can learn or explore or read. That's our right. And they simply do not have the right to take that away. That's what censorship is. And living in a democracy means that we are surrounded by ideas, some of which we agree with and some of which we don't, but we don't have the right to take away that freedom from others. I am deeply concerned about the focus in the majority of the books that various groups have called on to be challenged or banned. The reality is that the majority of them are around themes related to race or sexual identity or gender identity. And I see this, really as a human rights issue that's at the core of our commitment to our students. I think that we articulate a pretty strong community standard that we want our school to be a place where everyone can learn and everyone belongs, and you've heard others talk about that, so I won't belabor it, but it does mean everyone, and it's especially important that we validate and support and affirm students whose identities and experience might marginalize them in our world, and as we've heard, even in our own community. I have a quote that I want to read. Navigating in a space that questions your humanity isn't really living at all. It's existing. We all deserve more than just the ability to exist. And that is from George M. Johnson in their book, All Boys Aren't Blue. I won't repeat them all, but affirm and reiterate the statistics that Hudson shared, because these are things that in the world of public health that I live in, we are deeply concerned about. To know that nearly half of children who identify as LGBTQ have seriously considered attempting suicide is absolutely devastating. That is 4 to 5 times higher than children who are cisgender, heterosexual. If we look at sort of what's below the tip of that iceberg, probably nearly, I think it's 60% of LGBT youth have serious symptoms of depression. Nearly 75% report symptoms of anxiety. These again are much higher than children who are not LGBTQ. So this is beyond a discussion about morality or even constitutional rights, but I think around safety and protection of health and life. I didn't bring any statistics on this, but I can next time, but I just feel I want to respond to the previous speaker that as a public health physician, I believe that books that address sexuality and sexual activity are necessary. They do belong in our library. We know that books are a place that kids can learn about things and explore things without exploring them in their own direct life. We know that kids who learn about sex are actually less likely to have risky sexual behavior, are less likely to become pregnant or parents as teens, are less likely to contract sexually transmitted diseases, and on and on. So it may be scary. It's scary for me as a parent to think about things that my kids might be thinking or doing, but I know that having that kind of information is necessary for their well-being. And to kind of bring that, back full circle, it's even harder for kids who are LGBTQ or who may be exploring their sexuality or gender identity to find that kind of information and to feel affirmed. And I won't try to say it better than Hudson said it himself. But I will say that when we find ourselves in situations where we're hearing voices from different sides, the most important voice is the one of the people who are experiencing it. And we need to pay attention to the voices of our youth, whether that's LGBTQ youth or youth who may be feeling marginalized or not belonging in some other way. So I think that's all I want to say. Sorry, it's not articulate because I went off my notes, but I guess just in closing, that I think that we not only do we not have the right to remove books because some people, even you, if board members don't agree with those books, you also don't have the right to remove those books because it's our constitutional right to have freedom of speech, and books cannot be removed simply because people don't agree with the content, but also that I think that we need these kind of books, and I think that we need them not just for young people who need to see themselves specifically, but we also need them for other students so that they can have the opportunity to explore identities and experiences beyond their own, to become empathetic adults who can function in a really big and diverse world. And I think that's our job. And I hope that that's what we'll continue to do. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? We do have a couple of emails. Daphne, if you could read them, please. Can you speak up because the recording cannot hear you, so that's why we ask that you speak at the podium. Thank you.
It's not easy for me to do this at all, so I appreciate you being patient while I catch my breath because my heart is racing. It is important to me for everyone to be heard and included and feel like they belong, definitely. I graduated, okay, so this is totally not my speech that I planned whatsoever. But when he spoke, I was like, damn, that's right. believed or wanted or was learning at home. It just didn't make sense. It just didn't correlate. That was really hard. I felt really like sheltered in school, if we're talking about feelings and emotions and how we all belong. So how about you open the door with these books? You opened the door. Now we gotta include everybody. So in your library catalog right now, there's nothing for a Christian believer. There's no Bible. There's great young adult series for this age, middle school, high school, wonderful, to help these kids feel like they do belong, kids that feel lost. There's actually a series about that, but it's not here. So if you're gonna open the door, well, you already did open the door. So now we gotta like, okay, you can feel special and you can feel special and all right, let's get that Bible up here. The library had this great little activity the other day that you posted on your page. I love seeing things on your page. It's absolutely wonderful. I feel like this is the year for the board. You guys said you were gonna include the parents. We're really gonna open up the doors and really just, be really inclusive, and the parents are gonna be able to be a part of this. With the new superintendent, we really had faith in you. Meet the candidates meeting. You were really trying. All these social media posts, all the updates, everything. The communication has been great. But hello, now we have books with like oral sex in our library, and yet we're like, oh no, the parents can't know about this. We're just gonna let the kids tell the parents about this one. How does that seem? How does that seem to any of you? Like, what do you think about that? It's very sexual. And when I went to high school here, we had health class, and you know what we were taught? Abstinence is key. It's like ingrained in my head. Abstinence is key. Back then, I barely even knew what that means. But it was taught in this school that you can have safe sex. Yeah, you can also not have sex, because that's an option. You're not teaching it both ways. You're teaching it one very biased, specific way. The librarians here may have a biased opinion. You said the librarian will choose the books in the library. The librarian will check out the book to the kid if she seems that it's appropriate. Well, I already think she thinks that it's appropriate because it's here. And my nephews came in, they're in 6th grade. They came home with that book. I don't know if they would. I can't even picture that. I don't think they would bring that home. They would sit in one of these wonderful chairs you have here in the corner. They'd probably read it in private, And what's to say someone wouldn't do that about a Bible? They would be ashamed to read that at home because their parents don't believe in that. But let's have an open mind to this, since, it seems like everybody here does have an open mind, we're including everybody, right? Your silence is deafening. Oh my God, you're taking me right back to COVID times. There's been no response. You guys say that we can email and stuff. I know you can't
Do you
respond.
understand that we generally don't respond? We are here to listen.
Of course, but how can we get you to respond when we try and do all these things, but then there's still nothing from any of you? The only comments we have are from you, and we know you don't have any grandchildren, and frankly, I think you should probably step down for that comment. I mean, how ridiculous was that? We don't all, necessarily agree, but if we're gonna include, everybody, and we're opening up these doors, you need to open them up to everybody. Everyone needs to be included, including the Christian, the Catholic, the Jews, everybody, religious, sex, whatever. The silence, guys. It's just, because we have no response with our emails either. So that's why I'm saying the silence. We don't know what
If
to
I
do
could
with
ask for a clarification, which emails are you specifically referring to?
I am not here to answer your questions. You are here to answer mine.
nobody's gonna respond at all to this issue matter ever? Are we gonna,
We
this
have a
is- this is
discussion,
the books.
there is a discussion item on the agenda this evening.
Do we have a plan? Because this has been about 6 to 8 weeks of knowing and parents raising concern about this. So is there a plan in place? Or is this just like a discussion, like maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that? I think everybody has like a library card here too, all the students. So I think like in the portal, it would be pretty simple to put like a red, so like parent does not approve, you know, oh, sorry kid, you can't take this book out. Your mom just want you to have it. That would be a simple solution. Permission slip, simple solution. You know? Put the Bible on there. Include everybody. That's all I gotta say. If we're gonna open the door, we gotta include everybody here with this. Because that's what we're all about. We all wanna be loved. We all wanna feel like we're being heard. But some of us will not be heard or responded to at all, and it's okay. We'll figure something out for mine.
The open forum, if I could just remind everyone, is for the board to hear the concerns by the parents.
Okay, so let me rephrase this. When will we have like a response from you guys about our concerns that we're voicing at, I couldn't make the last board meeting, but I know there was concerns voiced at the last board meeting, so when do we expect a response on concerns that have already been brought up and discussed?
We will be discussing it. It is on the agenda today, and then based on that, we can continue. I don't have a specific time frame. Know that we are hearing what you are saying.
I'm going to address.
I need your name, please, for the record, ma'am, who just spoke.
Kelly Wolf.
Okay, thank you.
I am Amanda Calvo. I'm going to address the question that was asked about what emails. I was here already. Hey guys, I already emailed. I emailed at a private meeting. I received an email. There was no excitement. There was like, hey, Mrs. Calvo, these are the things that we're working on, and this is what we did, and we're hoping to move forward, but we're not quite there yet. I asked you for transparency. And again, I said, nobody expects you to wave a magic wand and fix this in 2.5 seconds, but you're not doing anything. You're not communicating with anybody. Now you're in the paper. And now people are going, this is what I believe. This is what I believe. You're not discussing anything. You should have a plan of action in 8 weeks. And I just want to make something very clear to the young woman that spoke. You guys are fixated on the word banned books. Banned books are what's all over the United States. I personally have made it very clear in this meeting and in the last one that every author has the right to write what they need and every reader has the right to read it. What I asked for you to do was take these books off of the shelves that are accessible to every single student and put in place a protocol where parents feel included, but their child could still check out a book in privacy, yes? Yes. They could be 300 books in a specific section that a parent permission slip is needed, and that child can pick out book 299 and not report to their parent exactly what book it was. Why? Because the parent has acknowledged and said, I trust my child and they're going to look at these books. These are the books they feel they need, and I'm okay with that. Ding, ding, ding. I'm that mom. You're not doing anything. And you sit up there in the middle and you silence your whole board. I know about you, Iron Fist. You're a bully. You have people on your board who want to speak up and can't.
Excuse me.
I'm
Do
sorry,
not
but she
attack
is.
individuals.
I
Do not attack individuals.
I said I apologize. I was attacked at the last meeting, so I'm not feeling very confident in standing up here and getting responses, as I've been ignored for weeks, with very kind emails at that, asking simple questions. I would much rather not be here. You have parents that are being attacked because you are not being transparent, you are not educating yourself, and you are not sharing with us your thought process on what you're thinking. Hey, like, we're not really sure how we want to go about this, but these are the things that we've taken the steps to do. You haven't said anything. Silence is guilt.
As I had said, it's on the agenda. We plan on discussing it.
So I needed to show up here tonight to get a response? It's only on your agenda because you're in the paper. So I formally will tell you tonight after I leave here, I am asking, let me explain to you why. After this meeting, my child came home and was witness to students holding hands, which is against the policy, public display of affection, but besides that, and she made a remark and was like, are all 3 of those students holding hands privately, in a private conversation to her friend? Your librarian, you know, the one you trust really, because she's capable of picking everything, knows everything, said to my daughter, excuse me, I support everybody, and perhaps they're a throuple. You know what a throuple is? Do you know what a throuple is? No, I'm sure you don't. I had to look it up too. It's the cool new word for like a threesome. So we're certainly lucky because she didn't say it was a menage a trois going on in the high school. It was a throuple. Sounds cool, doesn't it? Who is she? I have zero confidence in your librarian who has presented herself and her personal opinions and implemented them inappropriately and used language that is not for her to use to our children. So it's pretty clear where she stands on ordering books. We just asked you to connect a parent panel to your PTA to help screen those books so we were all in agreement. So I'm really looking forward to your discussion, and I hope that you have a plan, because for 8 weeks you've ignored it. I'd like to think that you all sat up here because you were educated and you want to do the work. So you should have a solution up there on that cool looking board by the time I sit back down. But I highly doubt you do. Don't ban books. I'm going to say it again to the audience. Don't ban books. That's censorship. She's right. Everybody has the right to read and be who they are. Just don't make them accessible for a 6th grader to go reading in the corner to be confused even further about who he is because you don't have capable counselors in here to back up that theory. Why? Because you don't have my health insurance and you don't pay for my kids' therapy. That's why. So, hopefully, you got a cool plan of action. 8 weeks you had to sit on it. Let's see what you did.
I had no plan on talking tonight, but I can. So.
Melissa, we can't hear you. Thanks.
It's good.
Hi, Melissa Palmer. I've been an English teacher here for over 20 years. I also live in the community and pay taxes. Ms. Calvo, I'm very happy to hear you say you don't want to ban books.
Yeah.
I'm happy for that. However, I feel the need to clarify some stuff. The current librarian did not purchase this book. She inherited it from the previous librarian, who will probably yell at me for putting that out there. And I feel like we need to understand professionalism more as we try to educate your children. I don't have kids, I have your kids. Dave, you don't need grandkids, it's okay. And I don't have kids of my own, but that doesn't mean I don't care. Thank you, Hunter. I don't care about my kids, they're my kids too. I will volunteer now on this spot. If there's a committee, sign me up. I think a procedure in place is good, but it is censorship, and my husband is a veteran and here tonight. So he served to keep that freedom of speech alive. Our kids need to feel like everyone has a spot here. We don't have to agree with them, but they need to feel like we care about them. And some of the comments tonight make that hard to remember we're here because we're supposed to be caring about our kids. We didn't show that. And I feel like that needs to be taken into account. I know I'm not talking about banning books, but I feel better now that Ms. Cowell said no banning books. I read a lot of edgy stuff with my kids. They like it. We talk about it in a safe spot, a supportive spot, because not every home has that. We're their second home. They spend all day with us. So we need to be able to have our kids feel like they can come to us with questions. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Lucky Palmer. I'm a taxpayer here and I'm the veteran. I just want to let the lady know, I understand your concerns, but you want action too fast. It took 3 years for me to get the benefits from the board on my taxes to be reduced. So I just want to say you gotta have patience. I know you want stuff done immediately, but it's not gonna happen. It's the world that we live in now. You can't make everybody happy. All right, and on behalf of Dave Finch, what he said, he wasn't doing anything wrong. It was a joke or whatever. I can't speak for Mr. Finch, but he didn't do it personally. I just want you to know that, okay? I feel in this world of changing times that you can't joke about anything anymore. You say one thing, you offend everybody. And to the board, it's a tough job that you're on. And I ran from the board before. I'm glad I'm not on it. Got a tough job.
Hi, my name is Susanna Friedman. I have 2 children at Scott and Ellis. And I was not planning on saying anything tonight, but having heard comments from the audience, I do just want to represent the community of parents and other people in this community who are grateful for the efforts of the board, the faculty, the staff of the school for keeping our children safe, for helping them learn and grow in an open and inclusive environment, which we value very much. And I think it would be really remiss of us as a community not to recognize the very hard efforts that you all and the faculty of the school have made against some really trying times and, let's face it, some abuse. So I just want to say we understand the way in which these meetings work. We are not demanding immediate action. We understand that what some parents propose as solutions might not be right for all of us, all of our children, and our entire community. And I just wanted to put that out there because I think it's worth saying that we see you and we recognize the efforts that you all are making in working for a good, safe, and inclusive environment for our children. So thank you very much.
All right, then I'm going to move us on to, I'm sorry, I apologize. There were several emails, so Daphne, if you could read those, please.
This is an email that I received today from Laura. I'm not really sure how to pronounce her last name. I'm sorry if I butchered this. Dresner. Hello, thank you for being a voice for us who cannot be present at the meeting tonight. I would like this message read out loud on my behalf. Dear board members, my name is Laura Dresner. I am a resident of Greenville, New York. I attended high school here and graduated in 2009. My husband and I have been living in town for the last 6 years. We recently bought a home here as we love and respect this community with all of our hearts. We were quite surprised and taken aback when we heard about the meeting tonight. Unfortunately, I cannot attend in person as I will be working. I am a speech-language pathologist with a specialty in voice therapy, more specifically, gender-affirming voice modification. The primary population I work with in this clinic are trans women, non-binary, and non-binary individuals. I want to take the time to thank our great school system for providing a wide range of materials to our diverse community. Tax money spent to represent the whole of a community is money well spent. Having books like Genderqueer and Not All Boys Are Blue in the high school library ensures that students learn and experience what it is to question one's gender identity. Access to such books is certainly developmentally appropriate and has psychological benefits. My understanding is that this will only be accessible to students of the appropriate age. Not only can similar materials help students who may be struggling or exploring themselves, but it can assist others with understanding what life may be like for some of their peers. In general, students seeing Pride book displays in the library will not only allow access to materials that they may not otherwise find, but promote normalcy for the LGBTQIA+ community. Many of my clients have shared how they wish materials were accessible earlier in their lives. Some people mistakenly believe that limiting access will eliminate certain thoughts and perhaps even prevent people from living their authentic life as part of the LGBTQIA+ community. I can assure you this is not the case. My question is, what do you think the benefit of banning these books will be? I do not see one. Whether these books are present or not, we still have gay, lesbian, non-binary, and transgender students. Do you want to send the message that their lives should be hidden? Should they be minimized? They are not worthy of discussion? I sure don't. If you are concerned about high schoolers reading sexually explicit material, I have even bigger concerns about parenting. At this point, they should have had at a minimum, a basic discussion about the birds and the bees. Also, if we are so concerned about sex, then we probably should ban prom. I invite you to reminisce on those days. This population is already targeted in so many areas in our country, for example, healthcare. Please do not allow them to be targeted in our schools. Going through with this book ban is sending the exact message that will promote further isolation for gender diverse students. In an era of restricting ideas and a time when book bans continue to be on the rise, I speak on behalf of the First Amendment rights of students and community members to access the materials they wish to. You have talented and competent professionals using their expertise to the best of their ability, and they deserve that recognition. For those who are in favor of the book ban, I believe it is your right to have that opinion, but it should not take the rights to read away from others. This is something you can discuss with your child if you have an issue with the content. Let's ensure our library represents everyone. It's 2023 and we can do better than this. Thank you for your time, Laura. This one is from Jen Dawson to the Board of Education and the Superintendent Bennett. I am writing to voice my objection to banning books in the school library. It is important that our public school provide children access to a variety of reading materials. I don't think it's right or appropriate for books to be removed because one group objects to them. Those same books might be beneficial to another child or family because they present new ideas or help affirm their own feelings. I believe and hope that the majority of Greenville residents would agree with me. Please keep access to all books for our students to learn and grow. Jen Dawson. And last, from Maggie Cunningham, dear Board of Education and Greenville families, I strongly disagree with the banning of books, and I fully support the librarians and trust their decisions when selecting appropriate books for our school libraries. I also believe that our teachers are always looking out for our best interest of our kids, for the best interest of our kids, and that their dedication and expertise should be recognized instead of implementing restrictions. Thank you, Maggie Cunningham. That's all I have.
All right, and as I said, the procedure and so forth about acquisition is on the agenda, so we will be talking about it a little more, and things do move slowly. Thank you. So now I'm going to move us on to the budget update and to Mike Bennett and to Janet Masterman. Sorry, no, but capital project? I have 5.2.
5.1.
Excuse me, 5.1. We will start with the capital project. Thank you.
All right, so we're in the very beginning stages of our capital project, as you are well aware. We have recently had a conversation in our kickoff meeting with both our architect, SEI, and our construction management group, which is Schoolhouse. During this initial meeting was really just a few things to kind of bring the board up to speed on in regards to process. SEI was here over February break and took different notes on the areas of construction both at Ellis and at the high school. Brought back some notes, compared that with some of the conversations we've had with our stakeholder groups, teachers that we've had at the beginning of this process. We are going to then take the notes that were generated from both the field experience and kind of the conditions, as well as the stakeholder groups, and we will be meeting with our leadership team on March 28th to kind of go over and start to put together what the scope of construction is going to take a look at. One of the things that came up during the course of the conversation was currently New York State is using third-party reviewers. This process has been implemented to help expedite some of the, with COVID and right before COVID, there was a large influx of capital projects that were being introduced. So they normally internally do those reviews of projects on their own, but went to a third party where they had some outside agencies come in and do some of that work to help expedite the process. We have just learned within the last week that the state is going to do away with third-party reviews and going back to doing internal. There is some concern around the state taking that away from school districts as the problem being elongating and extending out the possibility of getting these capital projects done in a way that were originally forecasted for our communities. So we're going to stay on top of that. Next thing that we talked about was SEI and schoolhouse management putting a responsibility matrix together in regards to the life of this capital project and starting to really put together a rubric of who will be doing what, and so that'll be helpful for the school district to have kind of that second set of eyes or just have a document to go back on to keep everybody kind of moving in the right direction and who we can go to when we have certain questions about certain aspects of the capital project. So we'll continue to do that. SEI will, one of the conversations, change orders that will come to the Board of Education will be a pretty, something that the board is going to want to keep track of. In some capital projects, there is a varying degree of challenge with who authors those change orders. SEI will be doing it for us for this capital project. So if construction management is on the on-site, schoolhouse sees something, they'll work with SEI in order to get these change orders to take place. So I just kind of wanted to get bring the Board of Education up to speed on that process and kick off. We're excited. More to come after our conversation on March 28th with the leadership group to start to identify what the needs were and what the wants were from our teachers for the classrooms, and you know, kind of bringing everything together so we can get into our next steps on the capital project. That's my update.
Do we have a, let's say, a floor, ceiling, like a threshold for some of the change orders? I know in the past, you know, a change order for $50 is not necessarily, we had a certain amount. If we could look at what that amount was in the past, and then if we are comfortable keeping that amount or adjusting it or so forth.
Yes, we could certainly look into the incidentals and what those, what the threshold could be for change orders. Yep.
You need to come to the board.
Correct.
That was one question.
Any other questions or anything related to the capital project? Okay, now I will move us on to the budget update 5.2. Thank you.
All right, so as you know, the leadership team has been taking a lot of opportunity to review where we're at with the budget so we can get ourselves into a spot where not long from now we can bring to the board the final presentation of what the budget will look like. We've made some adjustments since the last budget proposal in listening to the feedback of the Board of Education and taking a look at some different things. One of the things that we know that the board was really sensitive about and bringing back was the fitness center, as that opened up to the community and being able to provide some supervision for that to take place. So we've added that as an increase in the budget. Computer things that are needed in order for our IT department to continue to keep our technology where it needs to be. So we've moved into that direction. We decreased athletic stipends a little bit. One of the things that was brought to the board was being able to provide more assistant coaches for the different sports. And we had taken as a general base a number that was at the low end of those stipends, and decided that, you know, initially what we'll do is put something out in regards to one flat fee for the new assistant superintendents or assistant coaches, so that not all assistant coaches' stipends are going to be the same. The other thing that we took a look at was our late bus runs. One of the things that we offer now, we brought back a few years ago, was late bus runs Monday through Thursday. We know ridership on those late buses is extremely low, especially on Mondays, and that's primarily because we are offering, we have our faculty meetings and things like that primarily on Mondays, so not a lot of students are after school on Mondays, so we're taking a look at removal of that Monday run and just keeping a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday run to help supply either after school support or allow some of the clubs to run during the courses of the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The other area that we took a look at was summer school, and keeping at the high school the credit recovery and our Apex program together, keeping that straight and moving kids on the pathway to graduation. The other thing we took a look at was being able to really do more of an intensive tutoring, and where we're working with students on skills. And really, instead of getting away from that classroom where you may have 8 to 10 to 12 students during the course of a summer school session, really isolating direct instruction and direct skill building tutoring for those students. And so that was a decrease in what a normal summer school program would run, roughly about $66,000, which again would affect the level of summer school transportation. This does not have any effect on special education. That is out of a different line item, and we are required, mandated to offer a 6-week special education program, and we'll continue to do that moving forward. So that drops our budget down to that roughly $34.2 million to kind of get us to close to where we wanted to get to. Some of the expenses moving forward, you know, when we factor in everything, what we're proposing to present to the board is a 1.57% overall increase to this year's budget from last year's. One of the things I'm proud of with the way our group is taking a look at things with the rate of inflation and things that are out of our control in regards to contracts and cost of services and things like that, to keep that percentage increase right now at 1.5% from this year's budget to next year's budget. We've gotten some preliminary indications from other schools, and I'm happy to say that we are far below what a lot of the school districts are coming back on from a year-to-year increase in budget. What this pie chart kind of indicates is really where are our expenses going. And obviously the biggest chunk of that, almost 75% of what the school district's budget is going for, is salary and benefits. These are contractual salaries and benefits that we're responsible for providing our folks who work here. Also, the contractual services and tuitions are at 8.58% of the budget. This is things that we are contractually obligated to have available to keep the programs running. Our BOCE services are at 7.87 of the budget. That is some of the services that we get from BOCEs in order to run our programs. Debt service and transfer to capital project capital is at 6.13 budget. And then as we get closer to the smaller, I don't know if you can see that up on the charts, equipment, materials, and supplies are at about 2.6% of what we're, of the budget. And that's really where we focus in a lot of, where can we save money? It's in that area of materials and supplies. The remaining 0.2% is the transfer of federal to federal for summer handicap programs, some of the monies that we have to slide over to support some of those summer programs. The revenues that are coming in, estimated revenues, again, we've got a couple of things that we're not completely sure on yet. Health insurance, I believe, Janet, right? We haven't gotten our final numbers, hopefully by the end of this week. So that's something that we'll be waiting on. Different revenues that are coming in, appropriated fund balance, some of the monies that are going in, real estate, taxes, our state aid, and then the local sources of revenue. So we'll see where we're getting the monies to pay for our programs. So the revenues is a major part of the revenues, obviously, is the real estate and taxes and state aid. That is generally where we get the monies to fund our programs for the school district. So as far as our tax levy, proposed tax levy right now, we're proposing a 2.47% tax levy. On April 1st, the state legislature is supposed to give us their latest state aid budget numbers. We don't see really any increases to our original state aid numbers. So we are coming in below what our tax cap, that formulated tax cap limit is of 2.51. We are coming in at a tax levy of about 2.47 for this upcoming school year. Upcoming dates for budget development as we continue to look at these numbers and tweak these numbers as the state finalizes their portion of it and we get the final numbers on health insurance. We'll continue to tweak the numbers, and the idea is to, on April 17th, at our business meeting, is to review tentative and then have a tentative budget adoption. May 2nd is our annual budget hearing, and then on May 17th, our annual school budget vote. So, questions? I know there's a lot that I just kind of threw at you right there. Not a lot has changed since the previous rollout of the plan, but I thought it was important that you got a chance to see where some of our thinking was in regards to some increases and some decreases.
I just wanted to make sure I wrote down the right number. So you're over budget as far as the increase. What I heard was 1.57 is the percent for the budget?
Is from last year's budget to this year's budget. Correct. Yep. 1.57.
May I make a comment on that?
Sure.
Tough year, okay? And I think we all got an opportunity to look at one of the communications got about what other school districts are going. By far, we are the lowest year over year. I mean, there were a number of schools above 3. Everybody was 2, 2.5. We were the only one that touched 1 or any part of it, but it was under 2. So I commend the administration for the hard work.
And I think especially given that inflation is running around 6%, so to try to keep it into perspective, kind of Duncan, going along what you're saying. Other comments?
I'm sorry, if you said this and I missed it, I apologize, but the final state aid numbers, when do you have the final numbers? I don't recall.
They're supposed to be done by March 31st.
Okay. I mean, to your point, Mike, I understand.
Last year, they were done by April 10th.
Okay.
You never know.
The state has their deadline of March 31st, but
the state gets it done when they get it done. Okay.
There have been years where it's in June.
That's true.
We were hearing about that. I don't think it's been recently, thankfully. No, I appreciate that this is an update. We've had extensive discussions about everything underlying this. But I think you said that at this point, I mean, I guess you can't predict, but at this point, the state aid numbers typically don't change much, right? I mean, there might be a little movement, but we don't expect anything material.
No. The only thing, the material that could change is the health insurance. We're hopefully getting our actual rates by the end of the week. Right now, it's all off of percentages, so that's the only number that we're kind of really waiting for.
Okay, thanks.
One last comment. Thank you for doing all this crunching. I know it's your job, but we asked for a lot of things and you gave us answers that were reasonable.
All right, then I'm going to move us on to 5.3. And Mike, if you could talk about the book collection development.
Yes, so obviously a hot topic right now. And again, I want to thank Ms. Calvo for bringing this to our attention at the previous Board of Education meeting. It is unfortunately a slower process than what maybe some folks would like, but I do want to make sure that I tell you that things have been happening since the concern was raised, and we were able to put our group together at the district level in regards to our library media specialists to begin to really dive deep into what our current practices are, what are some of the surrounding schools doing in regards to their processes as they not only select books but have things in place where if a parent wants to question a book selection, what does that process look like? So we have spent a couple of weeks, first of all, with our library media specialists and doing some research around that aspect of this issue. We then have gone to the opportunity to kind of vet that out with what Questar 3 has put out in regards to best practices around this. They do not have at this point a finished copy of a process to be able to share, but we wanted to make sure that we didn't wait for Questar, and we make it Greenville's, and we started to really hammer at some different ideas around that. We talked a little bit about it about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. We've had a number of snow days in. We meet on Tuesdays during our cabinet meetings. We're sharing the document to make comments and to have some discussion around next steps in the process. So just this past, well, it would have been for the March 13th board meeting, I shared with the Board of Education a preliminary 5 or 6 page document that is really going to lay out where we're at. There is some more work that we need to do on our end to make sure that we feel comfortable with where we're at, and then get the board's approval on that process, and at which point we will be able to share with our school community. So yeah, not as quickly as most people would necessarily like, but it is a process that we want to make sure that we are vetting out all the potential hurdles, pitfalls, things of those nature, to make sure that we are doing what we feel is the most prudent part of this process. So that's kind of where we're at right now, and we'll continue to make sure that we get this document finalized, get it to the Board of Education for their eyes and their approval, and then we can launch it out of our library and let our community know.
Mike, can you talk a little bit about the YA designation? Because what does it mean? And this right here is a shared library. And it's a shared library between the middle school as well as the high school.
Yep.
So just the way the movies have a rating system, then can you talk about YA books?
Yeah, I think that is one of the areas that we really are going to spend a little bit of time focusing on, is understanding that we are a combined library here. Is how are we better monitoring what students are able to look at, especially at the younger ages, the 6th, 7th, 8th grade kids, and really start to take a look at how the library is set up, how we are able to really track and monitor some of the concerns that you heard tonight. That's part of the process that we want to make sure that we are attentive to and make sure that we're addressing some of those concerns. And again, I think there's a lot of thought process that goes into that. And so we'll continue, hopefully, to reflect that in the work that's produced.
But is there subtlety within that YA designation, just the way we have, let's say, a PG-13 versus an R rating? So is there any differentiation in YA designation?
As far as I know, there is not. I'll have to take a look. I'm not sure if we as a school board want to get to that level of differentiation. Leave that up to the folks who are putting labels on books now.
Thanks for the update, Mike. Yep. My understanding has been, well, the concerns that were raised from the community about the books were heard, and my understanding was that from the board's perspective, our process would be that, first we need to hear from the district exactly what you were just outlining,
right.
The information that you're looking for, and will provide to us for discussion. Definitely look forward to receiving that for discussion, right. And that for our purposes, concerns were raised, and the way the board conducts its business is from meeting to meeting we have these discussions. I know the update tonight was something that was requested weeks ago, if not longer, to make sure that we're aware of what's happening and what you're doing and what to expect. So thank you for that. And what I heard is that you'll be presenting some to the board for discussion and also for approval, some sort of plan that you recommend. And I assume, as with other meeting materials or recommendations like that, we'll have it well enough before the actual meeting that we can each look at it and digest it, maybe ask questions if we have it, but come prepared to discuss.
Yes, that is correct. And what you received in your board update over the weekend has the majority of that work. So I would suggest begin to take a look at that as we continue to sharpen that up a little bit and to come to a final, so that if you've got questions about what you've got in front of you now, you can let us know and we can address those. Be helpful.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, then I'm going to move us on to the board goals update. On this one, so, okay. Before I turn it over to Angela, who has been working on one of the specific items, so I want to just put a reminder in everyone that we actually are going to have to start planning for next year's. So whether it's, I think that we're taking a look at the calendar and planning out a time where we can get together, look at the different goals that we had, the ones that we've accomplished, the ones we want to continue working on. The 3 areas that we have focused on have been transparency, accountability, and analysis. Okay, so under the analysis, we had created a fostering knowledgeable and well-informed board members. And with that, Angela and Jim had created kind of a board orientation reference point, and I would like to also thank Sierra, who has been instrumental in kind of making it a interactive document that allows for further research. So without stealing her thunder, I am going to turn it over to you, Angela, and if you could talk a little bit about what it is that this document is, why you wanted it, and so forth.
Well, you did kind of steal my thunder, but I will say a lot of it again. So I don't know if it was almost a year ago, I missed a workshop and Hunter taught me a new phrase. I was voluntold I was doing this. I was handed like the big sheets that they use in a kindergarten classroom of just outlines of notes, and I was trying to look at this like, okay, I'm a newer board member. What do I not know? What did I need to know? What are all these acronyms? So I put together a list of kind of those subjects, and I researched what's out there, and basically just kind of tried to think of if I'm new, what do I need to know? What is my function? What are the rules? All these things. And I put together like I think it was maybe a 5-page document, and somehow Sierra magically, she doesn't want credit, but she magically turned that into this crazy interactive, link-heavy document where people, the public or board members, can go online and look up basically what are these policies, what are these rules, what is expected of us, why don't they all email us back when we email them, and just everything so people can understand. So that's been almost a year in the making, and I'm like geekily, if that's a word, excited to see it happen. And then I guess that's really it. Hunter and Tracy also helped me, so thank you.
And I think one of the reasons that you were the perfect person to do this was because being newer on the board, then you were able to look at it with fresh eyes. And sometimes we use the acronyms and everything else, and we just assume everyone knows it. So exactly, no, absolutely not. And then it's only that we realize, no, it's actually taken several years. So to have all of the information in one document that people can reference quickly, or sit down and read as like reading, that everyone was just excited about reading. So thank you.
I just wanted to add that we have a draft, it's in its final phases, the board is going to review it, give us some feedback, and then hopefully soonish we'll have it ready.
Thank you.
And with that, let's see, Denise Wickham, I'm going to move us on to, we have the 5.5 athletic update.
Hello, everyone. So just to recap kind of the winter season for you guys a little bit, I'm going to start kind of in backwards alphabetical order. So we'll start with wrestling first. This year, many of you know we didn't have a modified program this year, and that was due to coaching, or not having a coach. But our varsity coach, Pat Cullen, did an amazing job with 31 young men on our varsity squad this year. So kudos to him. He really stepped it up, and the kids stepped it up. We've got really young kids this season, so the future is looking really bright for our team. They ended up placing 4th in Class C's, and Kieran Cullen, Jack Van Gordon, and Devin O'Connor all were champions in the Class C's, so they were really proud of that. Kieran Cullen also, he qualified for states when they went to regionals in Glens Falls. He lost a tough finals match, but he still qualified for states. And he finished 5th in states, which is amazing. Out of all of those states, 145-pound kids, he ended up 5th. So we're really proud of him for that. Boys volleyball this season, Lynn Hughes was our coach for that, and this was her first year, and she stepped it up, and they ended up 2nd in Patroon Conference, and then they also ended up 2nd in sectionals this year. Cheerleading, Erica Hamilton is our coach for cheerleading. An amazing job. Again, the girls traveled to, I believe it was 3 different competitions, and did fairly well in those competitions. And she keeps telling me they're getting better. So hopefully we'll have some good success in that as well. Girls basketball, Stephen Gipprich and Kevin Smith are our co-coaches for girls basketball. And our girls basketball team finished 2nd in the Patroon, and also went on to sectionals with a 5th place seed and lost a tough first round match.
And boys basketball, Dean Carpenter is our coach, and our kids ended up going into sectionals. They were ranked 13th and ended up losing in that first round as well. But all in all, the kids did a great job. The coaching staff is amazing. I would like to just tell you, every single one of our teams, our cheerleading, our girls basketball, our boys basketball, our boys volleyball, we're all scholar athlete teams from the winter. So really proud of that accomplishment too. The kids are not only doing it on the courts and fields and everything, but they're also doing it in the classroom. All conference for the winter, we had boys basketball, Brett Larson was second team all conference. Girls basketball, we had Emily Smith as first team all conference, and Bryn Fitzmaurice as second team all conference. Our boys volleyball team had Peter Bruchkin as first team all conference. And our wrestling team, Kieran Cullen was actually voted most outstanding wrestler for the lightweight division, and he also made the first team. And Joe Davis and Devin O'Connor made the second team for our wrestling team. So all in all, a very positive winter season. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. So now I'm going to move us on to our action items. So the first one, if I could have a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of February 13th, February 27th, and March 6th.
Angela and Eric?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the finance reports for the month ending February 28th.
Eric? Angela again?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to accept the Committee on Special Education recommendations.
Jay and Eric?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the personnel agenda.
Eric? Jay?
Any discussion?
I'll be recusing myself for personal conflict.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the transfer to capital reserve.
Eric, I need a second. Jay, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve the resolution of the Board of Education of the Greenville Central School District of the State of New York for the purpose of entering into a contract for cooperative education services.
Eric, I need a second. Dave, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve health and welfare services contract between the Greenville Central School District and the Bethlehem and North Greenbush School Districts for the 22-23 school year.
Eric, I need a second. Angela, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the intermunicipal tuition agreement between the Greenville Central School District and the Cairo Durham Central School Districts for the 22-23 school year.
Eric, second. Dave, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the contract between the Greenville Central School District and SCI Design Group Architects, DPC, for an architectural services for the 2022 capital improvement project in the sum of $72,941. No, sorry, $72,941.
Eric, I need a second. Dave, thank you.
Any discussion? No, all in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve a new textbook.
Eric and Angela?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve an overnight field trip.
Angela and Jay?
Any discussion? And this is the one, the replacement for Nature's Classroom. Yes, and it also is, we have two groups going. We have the 5th grade group as well as the 6th grade group who the previous year was not able to participate because of restrictions with COVID and so forth.
just a quick comment. I'm happy to see that there's a replacement for Nature's Classroom and that we're doing it, and we'd love to see more field trips. I mean, whether, not necessarily overnight field trips, but the more we can get kids out to get experiences outside of the school and outside of Greenville, the better. So I'm very happy to see this on the agenda.
I agree with that. This is very exciting.
Budget just went to 2.49.
Tracy,
Yes, Dave.
has there always been a family contribution? In previous years, we went to a Nature's Classroom.
I believe so, yes, that is correct. I just remember as a parent, so, and I'm seeing the hand behind us nod.
I don't remember.
So, for that, but yes, the answer is yes.
As a parent, I remember it too.
Okay. No, that's my problem.
But if I remember correctly, there is assistance if needed. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So if we do get in a position where the family contribution becomes an issue, please bring it to the board, Mike.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to appoint membership for the committees. And this would be for the high school building, the BLT.
Eric and Angela.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And now, topics for future discussion. Does anyone have an item that they would like to include for future conversation or topic of discussion?
I know we already discussed that it's coming, but the book thing, I just want to dive deeper into that. What can parents expect? How do we separate middle schoolers from high schoolers, all that?
My board goal was to offer forums. We did one on the budget in September, October. Maybe we ought to discuss whether or not we want to have that kind of approach to this topic. We were looking for a topic, and we left this open, thinking that maybe one would show up or be created during the school year. We can either plan on talking about your issue, Angela, or just go ahead and plan on it. I'd be certain, we could probably find somebody that would monitor it, yeah.
Do you want to say anything? Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you were getting ready to start. I like that idea because I do remember that we were looking at least 2 community forums. And in comparing it to other ones that we had, it allows for dialogue as opposed to just having an open forum where we are receiving the information. So I think it's a great idea, and we can look at the calendar and schedule something for that.
I
So-
agree.
I agree, and I'm just gonna say, let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's let the superintendent do his part, finish that up. So if we're gonna schedule it, it's gonna be after the document's presentable.
Absolutely, because I think it would be beneficial to have something that we can all wrap our heads around, and just as opposed to thinking theoretical.
Yeah.
Okay.
So to put a finer point on that, would that forum be between the presentation of the document to the board and the board action? I mean, if we're going to be sharing the document with the community, which was suggested, which I think makes sense, is that going to be, are we going to have that forum before the board acts on the recommendation or after?
Well, I have opinions, but I'll turn it over to Mike.
Yeah, again, this is different process than policy, where the Board of Education would have to act upon a policy. This is a process that we're initiating and putting through and getting the Board of Education's feedback on once they've seen what we've put together. So it's really up to the Board of Education and what they want to do. It's not like a policy where, you know, policy's got to be approved by the Board of Education before we move forward with it.
doesn't change my thought.
Or mine. Angela was gonna speak, I think, when you started.
Oh, no.
No?
So, without putting you on the spot, Mike, do you have a sense of, is it a month before you would have something more finalized? Because I think it's very preliminary, and the snow days definitely put everyone behind because there were several cabinet meetings that could not happen.
Oh, we're just about done with that document, so it's, again, comments from the Board of Education after you've had the chance to take a look at it, back to us. I don't think it's going to be too much longer.
So then, Eric, does that get to your question of then having that information prior to scheduling anything of Dave's idea?
I think that actually opens the door that we could say we could maybe schedule a workshop in May or June. I don't know if, we're knocking on April. I don't know if there's a slot for us to do it on April yet. But I'm just trying to think how we get it done quickly, but not rush it.
Absolutely, and I think we'd also have to look at a schedule for a moderator or someone who would be available. So I think there are a lot of moving pieces and parts, but I would say that we're all in agreement to initiate something for further conversation, and not necessarily a board setting, but more of, I don't like interactive, but just in a setting where people can talk. Okay.
I just wanted to say really quickly, I think this is a great idea because the frustrations and the yelling and the anger comes from feeling frustrated and not listened to. So if they can actually sit down and have a back and forth conversation, maybe we can find a happy medium for everybody.
Tracy, additional thing, I don't want to take your thunder, but I want to make sure that we welcome Hunter here. But also, I mentioned this in an earlier meeting, I had the opportunity to visit the Questar School in Durham, and also Donald Klein in Hudson. And my intention, because I'm on the Questar board as well, but my intention is to visit every one of their sites that has students. When I was at Durham visiting their heavy equipment and their ag program, I got to meet some very enthusiastic kids. It was really nice. Not that all kids are not enthusiastic, but these kids were very enthusiastic about what they're getting an opportunity to do. And the equipment they have available to them, and especially the trainers. There are trainers you sit in to operate different pieces of equipment. And I got the opportunity to take on Assemblyman Tagg. He was up running an excavator, and so was I. And then we went outside with the students and actually worked the real equipment. That was, for me, it was great to see students again. And then when we went to Klein, we toured all the classrooms that were there, and I got to see Hunter practicing doing arrests, and like I said before, I'm glad he didn't arrest me. Probably had rights too, though, but
You have no
if anybody wants to join me in those tours, I'm gonna go to Tech Valley, and then the corresponding similar site that we have that is the same as the one in Hudson. It'll give you the opportunity to see our kids in action. I don't know how many Greenville kids. I remember one girl in the automotive program. She came right up to me and she just started talking and just laid out. You probably know who I'm talking about. I forget her name. But to see someone that enthusiastic about what they're learning, it was truly inspiring for me. So anybody wants to go, if you have time, I encourage just to see our kids actually in those sites. Then I'm going to go to boards that are in our cooperative, and try to present that we need to make sure that our guidance people, I think our guidance people do a pretty good job, but our guidance people have got to, or other boards, guidance folks need to present the programs that Questar offers as an equal opportunity to what they have, and to try and keep it understanding that it's all about the kids. You know, you take a look at a kid and you figure out what's best for that kid. And if it's going to Questar or some other program, then we have to make that leap. And I know it's expensive for each slot that we pay for. But what I saw, and I hope I get a chance to continue to see it, it's well worth the money. Wouldn't you say, Hunter?
Thank you, Dave. If you could share the dates when you would be doing that, either with Daphne, she can disseminate it to everyone. I know personally, I'm very interested in seeing some of the programs because I think that there's a need, and for certain students, it is absolutely the best thing for them. So, welcome, Hunter, to your first meeting. And as you have questions, if you could write them down, because we're new at this also, and some of the things we're not quite sure what the procedure is, but we will get some answers. We do have an orientation next week to sit down, take you through board docs and some of the other logistical elements. We do appreciate the feedback that you provided on some of the orientation manual, so welcome. Some of the reminders for dates. On April 5th, we have the annual cooperative education meeting. I think that, Daphne, you've had RSVPs for 2 individuals, I think, if that's correct? 3, okay, fine. So, and has the RSVP date already expired?
Yes, it was the 17th.
Okay, fine. So, although if there's someone that's really interested, I'm sure Questar could help accommodate that. We also have on April 17th, the 4th budget meeting, and then on April 25th, we have the annual BOCES election. Let's see, so those are the reminder dates, and closing open forum. Then please note, it's the same guidelines that applied before. If there's anyone that would like to speak, please state your name at the podium.
Is this on?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. It's on. My name is Elizabeth Britton. I'm a parent. I graduated from Greenville. I'm not going to say what year. I do have 3 boys in the district, 2 in the high school, 1 in the middle school. And I know tonight was a heated topic, and I understand we're all coming from different viewpoints. But I just do want to stress, since the process is ongoing still, and even though we all have our own family values, and just like I don't want someone to impose their family values on me. I don't want to impose mine on them. I think it's important that we fine-tune our kids and our values in our home settings, but yet leave the library open, to a variety of topics, to a variety of books, and as parents, censor that a little bit more. I know that's been said, but I can't stress it enough as you go through this process, and I hope that it doesn't lead to taking books out, but I do see the need to probably, have a separate section for the middle school versus the high school. I did hear the suggestion tonight that possibly having a section for just those books. I think that we are going to, possibly segregate students that are already feeling segregated by doing that. But I do obviously see the need to address the middle school versus the high school book selection. I had so much to say tonight, and so many people have said it, but I do just want to look through this. The one thing that was also brought up tonight is and I encourage you guys to do this, is to read some of these books, because there were some that were such hot topics that I had to read them and see what the fuss was. And to be honest, I didn't see the fuss. And my boys, they're in high school, they have read 3 of the books on the list, and we have all learned so much, and talk about an opportunity to enhance acceptance of their peers and tolerance of their peers, and just understanding of what some peers are going through. So even if it's something they're not going through, to be able to understand and show tolerance towards others, I think that's where we need to be. I know I'm forgetting a whole bunch of things, and as I'm sitting here, I was writing things down on my phone. I feel like this is my acceptance speech at the Oscars, because you know, and I understand that parents raised concerns and they had solutions, and but it doesn't mean they can be implemented overnight. So I think that's really important for parents to understand, and just because it's their solution doesn't mean it's the right solution. So I can appreciate that it is a process. And other than that, the only thing I want to say is the late bus. If you're looking for more kids to use it, a later time, the 4:15 time, does not allow athletes to go on the late bus. And I know that's the majority of students staying after, or a big chunk of the students staying after. So the 4:15 time means they have to leave a practice that generally doesn't get over until 4:30. They would have to leave it early at 4. I possibly have 2 student drivers next year, so I might be, you know, taking myself out of this, but that's just something that we have said since the late bus was brought back. So, and also, I thank you for your time and service, and sometimes, you know, taking on the heat of the discussion, and I appreciate the process that goes into changing something or just revisiting something, so thank you.
So I just want to, my name is Peter Mahan, and I want to thank everyone for their support for the Polk Greedy program that will be coming. We actually have parent nights scheduled already, both for the parents of the current 5th grade students and for the parents of the current 4th graders who are planning to go next year. We're planning on going next year as 5th graders, so we're super excited about that. I also want to let board members know that this weekend our 2 brand new elementary Odyssey of the Mind teams will be going to the regional tournament, which is in Coxsackie, Athens. This regional tournament will be all of the schools in our Questar region, so the 23 component school districts will be sending teams. We're very excited to, after the stresses of COVID, when we went from 5 teams down to 0, to rebuild the program with our first 2 teams. We have a team of 4th grade students and a team of 5th grade students, and we will be cheering them on Friday morning with a special in-school celebration before they go, and of course using this as a way to nurture them as individuals, but also hoping that we can get more students involved in the future as well. So please look forward to more great news about the Odyssey of the Mind program at the elementary school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Rachel DeLong again. I'll be really brief. I have some concerns, and I don't presume to know anything about the details of the process that's being followed, and so I don't want to like speculate. But I just reading some more things here tonight, provoked by some of the discussion, want to share a concern about a potential protocol that would restrict access for children to materials in the library, which I believe would still be censorship. And so I'm reading from the American Library Association has a library bill of rights, which I'm sure is not a legal document, but that's been interpreted for school libraries. So I'm sure that that's already part of what the group is looking at, and I just, my read of it is that we need to be extremely cautious about pursuing a procedure that would presume to restrict access to books in the library for some children but not others based on chronological age or based on any particular person's interpretation of what they thought that kid's maturity level was, that I think it really just returns to the same issue of that being discussions within families and parents making those decisions for their individual children, but not in the course of that restricting the First Amendment rights of every other child in the school. So, yeah, just wanted to share that additional thought provoked by the lively discussion here tonight. And thank you to all of you for the opportunity to contribute to the conversation and for listening to all of us and for the work that you do. Thanks.
I can greatly appreciate the constitutional rights and freedom of speech. I often hear the word through the end of this meeting about censorship. We're supposed to censor our kids. They're innocent. They're children. You don't just let them watch whatever they want to watch because they're kicking and screaming at home. You say things to them like, it's not appropriate for you. It's not age appropriate. You can't watch that because they're too fragile to digest certain things. We're supposed to censor our children. They're innocent. This world is trying to strip them day in and day out of their innocence as it is. We want to talk about a safe, inclusive space. Yes, but there's ways to do that. Then most parents that are standing up here are trying to say is we don't want anyone singled out. I don't want anyone to feel more singled out by going to a certain section. The same way that I don't want some little innocent 6th grader reading a book that they don't have to check out to read. You guys get that? You're not stupid beings. So where the world is evolving faster than a lot of us would like, we have to expedite and evolve with it, which means we can't just go throwing out all this new ideology and all these new things without first saying, okay, we have a large group of books and material coming into the library that we've never seen before, we've never experienced it, these are all new things in the world. How do we handle it? The same tonight was said for something else about putting the cart before the horse. You've got to educate and prepare yourself before you just spit it all out all over the universe. We are supposed to censor our children, they're babies. And don't, for the love of God, compare prom, which I give the whole birds and the bees talk to before my children walk out the door. Don't compare that to reading things that are not meant for their minds. Stop assuming just because somebody walks and holds their head high that they're mature enough to digest that type of literature. Just asking you to let us as parents make the choice. I know that people are like, oh, well, it's not that simple, but it is. You are our partner in parenting. We may not like it, we may not agree with you, and you don't agree with us all the time, and that's fine. That's why something as simple as saying, I'm okay with letting my kid use their own judgment, we have an open dialogue at home, and I feel safe with them picking material. It is that simple, guys. Because now you've included the parent, and the parent is responsible for the child. And then you can be protected and say, but you, the parent, said that it was okay. And I hope that's part of what you're considering. I'm not talking about some weird sneaky room by the janitor's closet where people gotta like swipe the devil card to go in. I'm not saying that. But you can't, and you have to prepare for this. Because this is our world. This is my notice to you guys of when controversial things start happening in the world. And you guys see it on TV. Like he said, don't put the cart before the horse. Make a plan first so that we're not here again. So you say, hey, we knew this was going to ruffle some feathers. We've got you. We're not always gonna all agree. And that's okay. But the one thing that I will not back down from is we are supposed to censor our children. They're babies. They're innocent. You certainly tell them don't talk to strangers. You tell them don't go on buses you don't know, and you don't let them sleep over at people's house without meeting their parents. That's censorship for the protection of their innocence. Please, from now on, with all this crazy mess that's in the world, think before you let it happen. You're not going to be perfect at it. But if the transparency is there, before we even have to get to you, we're less frustrated. Just be honest. Say things. I didn't read the book. I don't know what's going on. I hear about it. I know this is a big thing. Just be honest. You think I read these books? I didn't read these books until I had to read the books. And you're right, they're not for everybody, and they shouldn't be taken away. But you guys have to think about how you're going to handle it before it gets into the wrong hands of people for the wrong reasons. Because just like it needs to be in the right hands of people for the right reasons, there's always two sides. Just prepare yourself for that. And stop talking about transparency and be more honest. We're all humans. Nobody expects you to be perfect. But these are our children, and as parents, we do want them shielded from certain things. And we have that right.
Anyone else? Did you receive any emails? No? Okay. Then I need a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss a personnel matter.
Jay and Eric?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
What do you think?